the aspiration? You said that Indigo delivers on the talk, it walks the talk. What's the aspiration? What's the internal target on what amount of revenue you expect from your international operations, say by 2025?
Yeah, I think we're not giving any guidance longer than 12 to 24 months, because around international development there are significantly more uncertainties than there are for domestic. We need to get the air traffic rights, we need to get the slots, we need to get all the permissions. So in terms of precise percentages, I would prefer to sort of stick to 1 or 2 year outlooks, and we have now moved from 20 to 30%, or we will ending up in the range of 30%, and that will continue to grow. The next phase really is the XLR coming in by the end of 24, early 25, which will further extend our range of flying. And then if you take again, we could start flying to places as Delhi, Athens, and Delhi, Rome, and to Seoul. But not only new destinations, also a place like Delhi, Delhi to Nairobi would then be possible, which today is connected Mumbai, Nairobi. So we can further expand our network and really build on that international network profile. Then the precise percentage is going to be an outcome of that network development and not an objective in itself.
Right. That's as far as your international plans are concerned. I want to go back to the comment that you made about the strength of the domestic market and how you are seeing first-time flyers coming on board, and you're seeing a growth within the market itself. Now, what more can we expect from Indigo, especially when we talk about the Udan routes? Are the Udan routes now, minus the viability gap funding, profitable routes? How do you see Indigo as the market leader expanding the domestic market?
Yeah, well, thanks. It's an important point. Of course, whereas we like to speak about our international expansion and the growing share, the very backbone and the very foundation of Indigo, obviously, is still our domestic market. And when we were speaking about the share of available seat kilometers, clearly that's a high international. When we speak about individual customers, clearly the domestic is still the backbone. And the fact that we are now, and I should pronounce it correct, that we start flying into Shimavoga from Bangalore, that's really just our 79th domestic destination. So we keep expanding that domestic network. Earlier this year, we connected Delhi to Dharamshala. Now, we're not, in fact, only connecting Delhi to Dharamshala, but suddenly it connects over Delhi to a lot of different places. So our strategy domestic really will continue to add destinations, and more so adding a number of routes. And I think another very interesting statistic actually is that today we operate a little over 500 routes. Prior to COVID, that was 350 routes. So we have added a total of a little short of 200 new routes since COVID, which I think speaks to what is our plans domestic. Adding new destinations, but even more so adding a whole range of new routes and making sure that all these customers who want to fly actually have the access to air travel.
Speaking of new opportunities, I also want to understand from you on the freight aspiration as well, which is, of course, something that we saw all airlines focusing on through the COVID period. Now, where do things currently stand on that front, and how big is that aspiration for you?
Today, maybe let's take a step back. Indigo has performed very well on cargo during COVID, like actually a lot of other airlines. But with narrow body aircraft, it's a different setting. We do have in place today 2 Airbus 321 freighters dedicated to that. And in fact, we have quite a bit of cargo capacity on our leased 777 aircraft to Istanbul. That gives us the opportunity to get more experience also with that international cargo side. Later this year, we're expected to get a third freighter coming in, and with that, we start to build up our network. And basically, similar to what we've done on the passenger side, it will take a bit of time before we have that whole network up and running, have established all our customer bases. But I'm very proud of what our cargo team really is doing, and start to build from these 2 freighters, but not only the 2 freighters only. We do have 1,850-ish flight per day, and this 1,850 ish flights per day are also having belly capacity. So we see with the growth of e-commerce in India, with the growth of some of the pharma industries, with a lot of growth going there, that going forward we still have a lot of aspirations and ambitions in that field. Having said that, it's taking us, of course, a bit of time to start to prepare and building on it.
Speaking of building on new opportunities, a venture capital fund that Indigo has decided to announce. You're starting off small, 7 crore rupees, but what is this about? What is the bet that you intend to make?
Well, again here, we are becoming a global aviation player, and which in itself, in 2 days from now, we're celebrating our 17th anniversary. And I'm sure you've seen it going around, but I don't think there's many, if any, airline in the world which has grown from 17 years from basically 1 flight to 1,850 a day, and to this year hopefully 100 million customers. But with that 100 million customers and that size of the operation, we're in fact expanding also and making sure that we work and collaborate with young, innovative, new startups and companies. And for that, a fund like this could help us to work together, to collaborate, and to see for opportunities to continue to be ahead of the pack and prepare actually Indigo for the next phase, which is not only domestic competition, but bringing Indigo more to a global player. And for that, I think India probably is one of the best places in the world to be, with so much entrepreneurial spirit, IT spirit, people who start up their own companies, and a fund like this will help us to establish a more solid cooperation with some of these new startups. It's a new era for us, absolutely, but I guess it speaks to the entrepreneurship, not only of India, but also very much so of Indigo.
You preempted my question. So is the focus largely going to be on collaborating with startups in the tech space? Is this part of the plan to sort of plug gaps, if any, within the digitization journey that you intend to take? What will be the specific focus areas?
We actually have not predetermined a specific focus area. The most important criteria is that it's linked to the operation and the core business of Indigo itself. But with that, one could think about the operation at airports, one could think about our customer interface, one could think about the way we approach our customers. And again here, obviously, digital will offer us a whole range of new initiatives and new opportunities and possibilities. And the whole world is coming to India for its digital enhancements, and actually we're living here. This is our home, so we're in the right spot to build on that.
Pieter, let me end then by asking you, what would you, outside of the engine issues which you've spoken of, what would you count out or call out as possible risks today? And in terms of demand as well as capacity, what kind of pricing power does somebody like you enjoy today?
Well, again, the demand is strong, and we expect it to continue to grow with the growth of the Indian economy. And I think today someone forwarded me a sort of risk of economic reduction of forecasts, and where again some countries were ranked high, and India was ranked at the position of having a lower risk. So I think the whole outlook for Indian economy is pretty robust. If you look to international analysts and reviews, with a robust economic outlook, we can also feel that the demand outlook is strong and robust. Yes, there are seasonal patterns, and yes, there will be fluctuations, and there's always fluctuations. But I think the foundations in itself are solid. You addressed the engine issue. That's obviously something we keep a very close eye on, and we will make sure, as we have done in the past, that we can live up to our capacity guidance, and that's, I would say, our focus at this point in time. So I wouldn't add anything to the points you've mentioned, just underlining that that's a point where we put a lot of efforts and a lot of focus in.
Pieter Elbers, it's an absolute pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on The Record to give us an indication of what the flight path ahead looks like, and for bringing in much needed clarity on a whole host of supply-related issues. We look forward to seeing you in person the next time. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. We do that. Thank you so much, Shereen, and see you next time in person indeed. Have a nice evening.
You too. With that, it's time for us to wrap up this edition of On the Record. From all of us here on the team, goodbye and many thanks for watching.
Listen to this carefully.